By 1857, the company commanded an army of over 200,000 men. Most of them were Indian, and most of them had reached their breaking point. All it would take was a single spark. The spark, when it finally comes, seems almost absurdly small. The company issues a new rifle to its sepoy regiments, the infield, loaded with paper cartridges that soldiers must bite open before loading, exactly the kind of small procedural change that armies make constantly without a second thought. Word spreads through the barracks that the grease sealing these cartridges contains a mixture of cow fat and pig fat. For a Hindu soldier, the cow is sacred, and consuming beef in any form is unthinkable. For a Muslim soldier, the pig is forbidden entirely. Biting into either substance is not a small inconvenience that a soldier simply endures. It is a violation of faith itself, and for many sepoys already primed by years of suspicion, it confirms exactly what they have long feared, that the company's real and stated goal is to strip them of their religion entirely, one policy at a time. On the 29th of March, at a garrison outside Calcutta, a sepoy named Mangal Pandey has had enough. He arms himself, calls on his fellow soldiers to rise up, and attacks 2 British officers. The response from his own regiment is hesitant, uncertain, but Pandey does not stand down. He is eventually overpowered, court-martialed within days, and hanged on the 8th of April. The company's response does not end there. Believing the wider regiment complicit, officers disband the entire unit, stripping every sepoy of his uniform and his livelihood in a single afternoon. It is meant as a warning. Instead, it becomes a rallying point. 6 weeks later, at the garrison town of Meerut, the fuse finally reaches the powder. 85 sepoys who refuse to touch their new cartridges are court-martialed and sentenced to years of hard labor. As a deliberate public humiliation, they are marched through the parade ground in chains and shackles, stripped of their uniforms in front of the entire garrison, comrades forced to watch men they have served beside for years treated like common criminals. On the 10th of May, their fellow soldiers finally snap. They storm the prison, free every man in irons, kill the British officers who stand in their way, burn the cantonment buildings to the ground, and turn on any European they encounter, soldier or civilian alike. Then they do something no one in London anticipates. They march on Delhi. By the next morning, rebel sepoys control the ancient Mughal capital. They pull the aging, largely powerless Bahadur Shah Zafar out of ceremonial retirement and proclaim him emperor of a restored India, giving the uprising a symbol that reaches far beyond one army's grievances. Delhi becomes the beating heart of rebellion, drawing sepoys and disaffected rulers from across northern India who see, for the first time in a century, the possibility of reversing everything the company has taken. It takes the company's forces, reinforced with fresh troops shipped urgently from Britain itself, until September to retake the city, fighting street by street through neighborhoods that have never seen combat on this scale. When Delhi finally falls, the retribution is severe. Bahadur Shah Zafar is captured, put on trial, and exiled to Rangoon, the last of the Mughal line to ever sit, even nominally, on a throne in India. His sons are executed. The ancient Mughal capital that produced Akbar and Shah Jahan effectively ceases, that autumn, to mean anything politically at all. Meanwhile, in Kanpur, the rebellion turns into something even darker. Nana Sahib, a local ruler stripped of his inheritance under company policy years earlier and denied the pension his adopted father had been promised, leads the local uprising with genuine popular support. British soldiers, officials, and their families, besieged for weeks inside makeshift defenses with dwindling food and water, eventually accept a negotiated promise of safe passage down the river toward Allahabad. The promise is broken almost immediately. Hundreds are killed at the riverbank as they board the boats. Weeks later, as a British relief column finally approaches the city, the remaining hostages held in a nearby house, mostly women and children, are killed as well, in one of the single most consequential atrocities of the entire uprising. News of Kanpur reaches British soldiers advancing across northern India, and it transforms the character of the entire war overnight. Reprisals that follow, in Delhi and elsewhere, become just as merciless as anything the rebels are accused of. Entire villages destroyed on mere suspicion, prisoners tied to the mouths of cannon and executed in public, summary hangings conducted without any semblance of trial. A war that began over cartridges and confiscated kingdoms becomes, on both sides, a war of pure vengeance layered on top of a war of conquest. In Lucknow, the story takes a different shape entirely. British civilians and soldiers, led initially by the ailing Sir Henry Lawrence, barricade themselves inside the Residency compound as rebel forces surround the city on every side. What follows is a siege lasting nearly 5 months, disease and starvation killing as many defenders as rebel artillery and gunfire do. A relief force under Havelock and Outram finally fights its way through in September, only to find itself trapped inside the very same siege it came to break. It takes a second, much larger relief effort under Colin Campbell in November to finally evacuate the compound and its exhausted survivors entirely. Across the following year, the rebellion is ground down, region by region, fortress by fortress, as reinforcements continue arriving from Britain in numbers the rebels can never hope to match. Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, who never forgot how her kingdom was taken from her adopted son, dies on the battlefield near Gwalior in June of 1858. Reportedly dressed as a soldier, sword in hand, fighting to the very end rather than accept surrender. She becomes, almost immediately, one of the most enduring symbols of resistance to emerge from the entire uprising, remembered long after most of the men who led it are forgotten. By the time the fighting finally stops, tens of thousands are dead across both sides. Entire towns lie in ruins from Delhi to Kanpur to Jhansi, and the illusion the company has maintained for a century that it can govern an entire subcontinent through consent, careful paperwork, and the occasional show of force has been shattered completely and irreversibly. The rebellion was crushed, but the message was impossible to ignore. In London, a decision was already being made, one that would end the East India Company forever.